Assalamu alaikum. Every Hifz teacher has been there. A student is reciting, you're noting down their mistakes, but you can't keep up. You lose track of some of them, and then you can't convey the mistakes properly. So the student makes the same mistakes again and again. This is Tehfīz. You mark the mistakes on the page as they happen, and your student sees the same page afterwards. To get started, go to tehfīz.com and click Sign in as a teacher. Once you're in the app, you can open the student portal and sign in with Google. The first time you sign in, you will have to wait for approval. This is done by hand, so it will take a few hours, maybe uh, up to a day, inshallah. But even when you don't have the approval, you can still use the app. You can still log sessions. You can still download them to your computer. You just cannot send them to your students. For that, you will need the approval first. Once you're approved, you will get an email to notify you, and you will get your name on the header like this. Then what you could do is you can open up the students again, and you can add a new student. You can write your the name of the student. This name could be anything, but the thing about this name right here is that this part does not reach the server, and that is for privacy reasons, because we don't want children's data with us. So if we don't have the names, even if we do have the session data, that's something that we do need to have. But without the names, we can't link it to a specific student. So there's no privacy concerns. The problem with this is that if you sign in from another device, if you refresh your browser history, for example, delete your browser history, then you will lose these names, right? And it will appear as blank, right? But to avoid that, you need to export the roster from time to time, especially once you have your, all your students up on the app, then you can export it and then you can keep it safe. This does not affect the number of sessions they have. This just affects the names, right? And you can just click this button to download it. So once you have made a new student, you can copy this code. You can just tap it and it copies, or you can just type it and you can send it to your student. What will the student do with it? Let's open the student app for a brief moment and look at it. So this is the student app. It's very similar. The student clicks login, right? And here he will paste the code that you sent, right? But the first time he can't just paste it here. Even if he does, it just says that the code has not been set up yet. So this code is the identifying feature for the student in the app. This is something that this student needs to keep safe, and this is something that you need to keep track of as well. But along with the code, the student sets up a pin, right? The first time he has to type twice, and he has to choose a pin for himself. And once we have this, we don't have this pin. This is encrypted. You won't have this pin. And this is something the student will set up on his own, or their guardian or parents, right? Once he has saved the pin, he logs in, right? He can view all his sessions over here. We'll get back to this later. Okay, now back to the teacher app. Let's start with how we are going to start a session. There's a number of ways. You can just click this card right here, and it's gonna put in that student's code over here. Or you can just click here, and then you can select from the drop down menu the whatever the name you have. If you have typed the name in your browser, then you'll see it. Otherwise, you'll have to select the code, right? And you just go to that place wherever you want to go. So, for example, let's say, go to the third juz, right? Because that's what the student is going to recite from. What you do is you can just start the timer, and it's going to automatically start a segment. Now, what's a segment? A segment is just a part of a session with a defined range. So once you press that play button, it's going to automatically check the first verse of the page, whatever you have loaded, and it's going to put it at the start of the range. You can change it anytime. If you click it, you can just tap a word and it's going to change, right? Or you can select a manual range from here as well. You can select a surah, you can select a number of pages, you can select a number of juz, whatever is more convenient to you. Uh, or you can just it's also got an auto scroll that you can start with a keyboard shortcut. And once you start listening, right, the student, you're on call with the student, you're looking at the mushaf right here, and the student is reciting, you're listening to the student, and he makes a mistake. He makes a mistake, let's say in the ayatul kursi, and you tap that word, whatever word he made a mistake in, you tap that word, and then you can select any of these mistakes, right? Or you can, if you're looking for tajweed, you can go to this tab and select any mistake. But you can take mostly for Hifz, these are the mistakes that we think is relevant, are relevant to the Hifz thing. Or if you don't find that kind of mistake in any of these, you can just type it up and add any mistake, anything over here, and that's going to go through, right? Or you can actually select one of the numbers. So these numbers here, they also work with shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts, and you can find more of these over here in the help modal. But if you press 1, it's gonna go not when you have selected the uh, other field, but if you press 1, it's gonna select the hesitation as the mistake type, or 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And just like that, you also select the level of intervention. If you did not intervene at all, you just leave it blank, right? And it's gonna automatically go as level 0. Otherwise, you can select what level of intervention you had to do in order to correct that mistake, and then you press enter, and it's automatically locks that mistake. And this is something, once you get the hang of all the keyboard shortcuts, then you can just do it very quickly, and you can just keep on listening, and then you can just say, okay, and this is the mistake that the student made, and so on and so forth. And then once you're done, you pause the timer, right? And then you save the session, right? That session is saved. When you save the session, it automatically fills in. It sees the last verse on the page, and it fills it in as the range of that segment, right? Now you can add other segments as well. So, for example, this was the new stage. This was the new lesson. You can change the terminology from the settings as well if you prefer sabaq, sabqi, and manzil, right? So right now we're at the other terminology. You can add a new segment with, for example, and this segment you will assign stage to be old, right? So that would be the manzil, and that manzil is, for example, the student has to recite the entire T of Juz 1, right? And then you can start listening to that student. You can resume the timer, or you can leave it running as it is. That's up to you. You can change the speed of the auto scroll, right? This also has keyboard shortcuts. You can reduce it as well. Um, A is the shortcut for starting and stopping auto scroll, right? Or you can just keep scrolling manually, and then you can add mistakes and so on and so forth. And once you're done with all that, once you've completed a session, all you need to do is you need to send it, press this button, and it automatically sends to the student, right? And that student will receive this session, right? And uh, when he logs in his into his app, let me actually show you. I've sent this, and let me show you the student app and how that session is going to appear. So here's the student app. You can see that when you go to the sessions, it automatically has that session. That's the today's date, and it's got 4 mistakes. You can see this session. We'll get back to this later. Uh, Back to the teacher app. Another thing that you can do is you can do spot testing. Take it. Spot testing is where you have to select a range, specifically. So, for example, you want to test the student in juz 5, or in the first 10 juz. Let's see. Let's select first 10 ajza, and we set it. We want to test the student, and how many spots do we want? We want, for example, like 15 spots across those 10 ajza. And we can also select the stage. This is not very relevant to spot testing, but you can do that. And you can click populate spots, and it automatically randomly selects 15 spots that are spread all over that range, right? So the first spot is in Surah Baqarah, that's the 15th verse, and it's gonna open to it, it's gonna scroll to it, and you're gonna just tell the student to start reciting from it. And once the students start reciting from it, you can mark mistakes. So, for example, if they made a mistake here, you can just mark it, and then you can keep on reciting. You can press auto scroll again, right? And once you're satisfied, you say, okay, the student, he's good with this, right? And it's gonna automatically scroll to the next spot, right? And then you test, and then you say, partial, and then the next spot, and so on and so forth. So you can just keep on going, and it's gonna give you. This is basically a testing scenario where instead of reciting the whole juz, you can just test them on certain spots, and then, of course, you can clear the session. All right. This is back in the teacher app. You can clear the session. Once you have sent to the student, there's no worry about losing the data. Uh, Now, the next thing that you can do is you can open this tab right here, and you can open the viewer directly, right? So right now with the sample, what I showed you was that the student was opening the app on their own, putting their pin, setting their up. You don't know that pin, right? You're not supposed to know that pin. How will you see the student progress? You can use this button right here. And by the way, this is also another sample. This is not an actual student. And let me open this in the viewer. Right, once you open uh, Yusuf Rahman, right, it's gonna sync. If it doesn't sync, you can just click this button, and now you can see it has 40 sessions, right? These are the 40 sessions that it has. In the student viewer, you can browse the mistakes, right, according to the juz, surah. You can use any of those filters. Once you start, going through the mushaf, and the student can also do this. All of this functionality is available to the student, except for the part for deleting or hiding these sessions, right? The student can not do that. You can delete sessions, right? So obviously, we don't want students to be deleting sessions without their parents knowing. All right. So the students, if they decide to revise through this app, then when they do, they will find all the mistakes highlighted in the mushaf, and when they click, they can see, okay, when did I make this mistake, and um, what was the level of intervention, and what type of mistake it was, right? They can also browse through their mistakes, right? And it's let me see if we can find a repeated mistake. If there's a repeated mistake like this, it's gonna tag it, and it's going to highlight it. If we click any of these mistakes card, it automatically goes to that place in the mushaf, right? So I don't know why it's tagged this to be a repeated mistake, but this is something that won't happen in the actual data. I think this is a quirk of, yeah, right. This is another mistake that's a repeated mistake, right? It's gonna it has this. So, for example, it's gonna show you all the times that the same mistake was repeated, right? It's supposed to be uh, showing the same word. This is not an issue in the live app. This is just because of the sample data, right? The next thing that the student can do is they can go to their sessions, and for each session, they can review. And this is something that you can access through the teacher app directly as well, right? So once you're done with the session, uh, you press the share tab, and over there you can find the review of that session. This has memorization strength, which is a score of how good the memorization was. It is a score based on the number of mistakes per page, right? So a longer session could be compared to a smaller session as well. This is something, it has longest clean streak. There are a few other metrics. We will continue to actually increase and improve upon these metrics, because this is the whole point of this app, right? So once you need to get a sense of how you're doing, right? And even more than that, is this is just about one session, right? Each segment, it's and it gives you a score, but then the student can open this progress report. You can also open this progress report. And when you do that, you can get a sense of what parts of the Quran are good with the student, right? They're settled, and what parts need a look, right? They're very urgent, they're overdue. And this is a score based on both the memorization strength and how recently this was recited. So, for example, if you look at just three, this had a score of 94, but it's orange. Why? Because it was recited 2 months ago, even though it was good, but it's been a long time since the student recited, right? And the same is with just two, right? It was a long time since the student recited, so this is something that needs to be repeated, right? And it will also be read if the memorization strength is low, right? Lower than a specific threshold, which we will keep on improving, right? This is the overview. And here, that this is where, marking the segments, the stage really gives fruit, because if you mark the new lessons, it's gonna show you this graph. It's gonna show you how many pages per week. You can click this, and it can tell you how many pages per week has the student recited, right? You can go to the recent tab, and it's gonna show you the conversion, right? So when they recited it as a new lesson, what was the score, and compared to when they've been reciting as a recent lesson, is the score improving or is it decreasing? This is where the alarm bells should start going up, right? If the score of any passage starts to decline in the recent one, right? And then you can also specifically go to the old part where you can see uh, you know, uh, the manzil, and the status in greater detail. And then you can also look at spot tests, right? Spot tests are where it doesn't have the memorization strength for the spot tests, but it will give you, how many were passed, how many were failed. There's something that we will actively keep on improving. Inshallah, this is something that is going to be very, very useful for the students, because this is going to track their progress over time, and it's going to give them meaningful scores for, what to work on next, and what, they can keep on revising, and so on and so forth.